The idea behind the show is simply asking guests what they would tell a stranger on a plane if they were sitting next to them and the stranger asked them for advice.
The scenery is passing very fast, but the seer is constant. The one who's seeing is the same.
Well, let me appreciate you for asking a question that I haven't been asked after 2,500 or so interviews over the years.
Is you have to drop the ego, which is everyone's greatest obstacle.
2008, Grant and I had been married for 4 years. I was pregnant with my first child. The economy was collapsing, and we were on the verge of losing everything financially.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for checking out the show. Corey Poirier here, and before we get into the heat of the show, wanted to share a few quick things. First and foremost, if you want to grab a copy of our top 10 insights guide, that basically it's been culled from thousands of interviews that I've done with people like Lisa Nichols, Les Brown, the late Bob Proctor. In fact, I think insight from all three of them is in this free insight guide. Feel free to go over to peopleonplanes.com. Again, peopleonplanes.com, and on that page you can actually grab your free copy of the 10 Insights Guide there. In fact, the other thing you can do is this show was inspired by a book that I've written that's not released yet called The Enlightened Passenger. And if you want, you can actually pre-order a copy of the book. And at this stage right here, we're going to be doing some bonuses with the pre-order copies that we don't do at any other stage. So you can grab your copy there as well, right on the website, peopleonplanes.com. Outside of that, I would love it if you would subscribe and either leave a comment or review this show, because that's how we reach more people. So that's all from me. That's all the things I want to share before we jump into the show. But I just want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I know your time is valuable. I know you can use it many places. Thanks for joining us. We will do everything we can to keep that trust in your time.
So, Jake, it's so great to have you here. And I'm going to start with, I'll call it maybe a big question before I get into one of my main questions. And I know this is a deep question to start with, but it's about this idea of legacy. Have you ever thought about this idea of legacy, what you want your legacy to be? Or do you think it's just something that somebody else will determine, behind your back, or, that type of thing?
Yeah, I think that is for the people to choose, different strokes for different folks. Something I've done early in my career may have touched somebody in a certain way. So I would much rather them pick it than me try to choose it. Because I think I'll be missing the good stuff. Because I want the stuff that means something, not necessarily a wrestling match or something like that. I'd like for it to be something where I've contributed to humanity. And what I'm doing now, I feel it greatly contributes to people in many ways. I'm helping families understand addiction. I'm helping those that are addicted try to work their way out. And that's my main focus these days, man, is just being available to people that need it. And there's certainly a lot of people that need it, but it's hard enough on the addict, but what it does to the families, that is just, it goes beyond whatever you can think of, because the child looks at it differently than the mother. The father looks at it differently than the mother. Everybody looks at it differently because some part of their life has been changed and raped and ruined. And recovery, it's hard to get through recovery, not only for the addict, but for the parent or for the family. Yeah. Because they're watching this person change and they're not really ready for change. I know I do some things differently now that I can't name you one. I wish I could right now, but that I didn't do before. And my kids will look at me like, Dad, you've never done that. Yeah, I know. I don't even know why I'm doing it. But your makeup changes. And when your makeup changes, your perspective changes. When your perspective changes, what comes out of your mouth or goes out your rear end changes, all the shit changes.
I love that. Well, I'm going to ask you one more big question too, because, and you wouldn't remember this, but I'd say it's probably about 8 years ago. I interviewed you for a newspaper that I had at the time. And I asked you a question of, and I'm going by memory on this, Jake, but I asked how you define success. And at the time, I'll tell you what you said, because I'm curious if your definition is still the same. You said survival. The fact that I'm still here, that's success. I'm curious if that's still how you define it, or if you would go deeper than that now.
No, I go deep. I go much deeper than that now. You know, I can definitely know where I was coming from at the time. You know, when you're fresh in sobriety, you're opening up a whole new world, because for however long you were an addict, you shut down. I mean, when I finally came to, I'm looking at computers. I missed all that. I missed all of that. I was too busy in my drugs. I didn't mess with computers. I didn't look at computers. I didn't want to know about computers because it's interfering the time I have with my drug or my booze or the sex or whatever. So you have a very small world. But now, oh my God. Now it would be, can't wait to see what it turns out to be. You know, if somebody told me 10 years ago that I'd be doing your podcast right now, for instance, who the hell is Corey? What does he wrestle? You know, that was my world. But now it's much deeper than that, man. It's and it's much prettier now. You know, when you first get sober, man, you stay locked down. You know, you don't want to let new things in because you're scared of what they might do to you or trigger you or what they might make you want to do. And you're very guarded. But now, man, I got my front door open, my back door open, and let the wind blow whichever way it blows. You know, the windows are open because, man, what new is going to happen today? And by doing that, you open yourself for everything, man. And there's a lot of crap you have to kick out, you know, and there's a lot of crap that frustrates you because you realize somebody's trying to play a game on you. And that's probably the most frustrating thing I deal with is people trying to play me, you know, for their own gain, you know. And you realize just how selfish people are, you know, a lot of them. And boy, I thought that when I got out of wrestling, I wouldn't have to deal with promoters anymore. Not true. I'm still dealing with the bastards. And Jesus, guys, you know, I don't want the whole pie, Corey. I just want a nice slice. You know, a nice slice. But these cats come at you, man, and man, oh man, con after con after, what the, you know, and thank God I can't get my hands around their throats at the time because I'd like to just throttle them. But no, my world now, man, is so huge, whether it be with movies or different things that I'm trying. And, you know, the podcast is just, you know, up and going 4 months now. And I'm having a blast with that. And surprised about how many people it's touching. And, you know, I'll go out somewhere and do a signing and people will walk by and say, love your podcast. You know, what the hell? Okay, man, you scared the shit out of me. Don't do that. You know, but it's fun. You know, it's fun to tweet people a little bit and have a little fun. But I think if you let your world quit growing, aren't you dying?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I don't want to do that.
So the podcast you mentioned, that's the one with DDP that you guys
Yeah.
called?
Yeah.
So it's going fantastic, is it?
Oh yeah, DDP Snake Pit, man. It's growing and we just got to get the word out there more. You know, people have a lot of choices these days with podcasts.
Absolutely.
You know, I remember when I first started getting sober that was one of the first things that I wanted to get in on was the podcast thing. And Dallas and my other attendees didn't think it was a good idea for me at the time. And they were probably right, because I'd have probably ranted and went off on something that probably didn't mean a damn thing. But these days, man, I'm still trying to put together my life, man. You know, you do a lot of damage when you go down that road. And I'm very proud and happy to say that, you know, I divorced the woman of my life 25 years ago, and mother of 4 of my children. And it was never a question of love, because I loved the hell out of her and still do. And but it was a question of whether I would put down the drugs and the alcohol. And that's just how powerful that disease is, man. I gladly gave up my family and my career and my life just to have my high. And it's not that I was weak, it was that I was running from so much. You know, whether it be my past, my upbringing, all sorts of things. My feelings towards myself, the shame that was involved in my early life, being shamed. And shame is something you choose to do to yourself, you know, but still, it's very powerful, very powerful. And I'm happy to say today that my ex-wife of 24 years and I are been dating now for over a year. And we're getting back together, man. We're going to tie the knot somewhere down the road. And that's just an incredible love story to me, you know, because I love her so much, man. God almighty.
That's so amazing. And you built up a good segue for my main question I wanted to ask you, which is this idea of, it came to me a while back, but the idea of me sitting next to somebody in a plane, and if I asked them what kind of life advice they would give me, or what kind of advice they would give me based on what they've learned in the year since, I've been obsessed with the idea of what they would say. So now you just kind of talked, Jake, about the years and what sort of happened since then. I'm curious if somebody's sitting next to you on a plane, and maybe it's a wrestling fan, maybe it's not,
Right.
but say, Jake, you know, what would you tell me now if I asked you for some life advice or some advice in general? What do you think you might tell that person sitting on the plane?
Well, the first thing I'd tell them is follow your dream. Follow your dream. You know, nobody has the right to choose your dream but you. And the second piece, it would be never give up. Never give up, man, because all things are possible. As long as you're breathing, it's possible. You know, if I'd given up, I'd be in a box right now. And there's so much out there for you to see. You know, don't be closed-minded and keep it to one thing. And it's okay for your dream to change. It's okay for your dream to morph into something else, but it's your dream. So follow it. Try to keep your eye on the prize. That's one of mine. And the other big one for me was my history will not be my destiny. You know, that means a lot to me because, brother, the cards were stacked against me from the get-go, you know, from the time I was born. It wasn't meant for me to survive all this crap. And hell, I'm just glad I didn't turn out worse than I did, you know, because when you look at having a pedophile in your life and having to deal with that and rape and incest, when all that shit's involved in your life, brother, it's tough, man. It's tough and it's hard to get past it. But the only way you'll get past it and this is probably very, very important to people out there. You got to talk about it.
Mhm.
If you don't bring that darkness out to the light, it will always haunt you because it's your secret. You know, they tell you that in rehab. Secrets kill. Secrets will kill you.
Mhm.
So that's a little advice from rehab. But yeah, if you were sitting next to me on the plane, I'd probably tell you, dude, you should move. You know, that'd be the first thing. For your own safety, you should move. And no, it would be those two things mainly, man.
Well, I also went to see you at a comedy show, Storytime,
God.
at a comedy show in Calgary. Matt,
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that name. Matt was the one that was
Yeah.
organizing it. And at the time, I remember you were talking afterward, and I was so impressed by this. Is you're having people could come up to the stage and talk to you, and
Yeah.
you know, I especially want to reach out to those that may be dealing with something right now.
Right.
You know, please come up and talk to me and tell me what's going on, and I'll do what I can to give you some advice.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's so powerful that you were.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I try to do that every day. You know, you don't realize what power you have until you use it. You know, you should know that better than others. You know, you're very successful with everything that you do, and it opens doors. It opens minds. You know, and whether I kind of think that God gave me the wrestling thing so I'd have a platform to speak for. You know, I think the wrestling part of my life, you know, now that it's past, was just the beginning. It wasn't the end. For a long time, I thought it was the end, man. I mourned it. I mourned that for a long time. Still do at times. But that's not the end, man. The end is a long ways off. Changing lives, man. The power that it gives you, the best high I've ever been on was when I got a letter from a little kid, and I've gotten several since, from a little kid thanking me for helping his daddy quit drinking, because now daddy has moved back home. And I love my daddy. Wow. That killed me, man.
Mhm.
You know, and to think that for whatever reason people look up to you, you have to give them something back, man, and give them hope. Hope is what springs eternal, man. Hope is what makes the world go round and keeps us all alive. You know, because a lot of us are giving up.
The other thing I was going to say on that note is you had mentioned earlier the advice that you would give to somebody is never give up. And what I think is so appropriate about that, Jake, is you know, the documentary, the idea of the resurrection. I think it's safe to say that happened. And so imagine if you, like you said, you would have given up. I mean, you get the Hall of Fame ring at the time.
None of that would have happened.
All that stuff. Even the documentary, how many lives that impacted. And so I think it is you're a perfect example of you didn't give up. And look, there was still there was.
Oh my God. There's so much greater things out there. Don't ever close the door on anything, man, because you don't know what's behind that damn door. You don't know what road that's going to lead you down. Now, you got to be weary at times, but you pretty much know off the get-go if it's going to be a good thing or a bullshit thing. Mm-hmm. You know, who's this going to help? Is it going to help me, or is it going to help the other people? I found out by helping the other people, it helps me. That's key.
So powerful. 100%. So Jake Roberts, this has been an absolute pleasure. I love the fact that you are so open and willing to be so vulnerable, because I think that's what
absolutely.
So let me ask you the final question, because you mentioned bringing people to the podcast. So how can people hear the podcast? Is it one of those things where wherever you listen to podcasts, Jake and Dallas are there?
Yeah, it's all there, man. You know, it's DDP Snake Bit. And, you know, you get me, plus you got to listen to Dallas too. So there you go. You know, and Dallas is fun, man. I have a blast with him. We've known each other for a long time. We know each other inside and out. And it's just a natural play for us. We're not out there working. We're just out there BSing with each other, man. and we're excited about it, man. I think down the road, it's going to become really powerful because I think it will change into something else. I think it will probably go away from wrestling and go more into helping people be people and helping them recognize their dreams.
Wow, there you have it. Jake the Snake Roberts. So I have to just share that my big takeaway, there's a lot of takeaways from the wisdom that Jake shared during the interview, but a big takeaway for me was when he talked about the fact that maybe, just maybe, the reason wrestling became his calling was because it would afford him the ability to actually impact more lives in a bigger way because he had that platform. And I think that's really cool because a lot of times we go on our journey, we're caught in the moment doing the thing, but we don't necessarily realize that this thing could have bigger both ramifications and benefits down the road, or that this path we're taking could lead to something else down the road. And so we just kind of do the thing. And so what I want you to think about today, as you think about Jake's wise words, is that, maybe the thing you're doing today that you maybe love, perhaps there's even a bigger reason that you're doing it. Perhaps there's a bigger thing that's going to come out of it. And so why not, while you're doing it, go all in and give it everything you have, knowing that, again, maybe it's building some bigger legacy later, or maybe it's part of you being able to impact more lives later. Maybe you're already doing those things now, but I'm just saying, if you wonder, why am I doing this, or what was my reason for this? Maybe you don't need to know the reason yet to go all in and build something that can have a positive impact on other people down the road. So my question for you today is, what is that thing for you? Are you doing it now? I guess would be a second question. The third question would be, if not, when are you willing to dive into that thing that is your thing? But then maybe just sit down with a pen and paper and figure out how you can go all in on the thing that you want to be doing, whether it's as a side hustle or a full-time thing, so that you can make your own dent in the universe, as I believe it was Steve Jobs who said. Until next time, I'm Corey Poirier. Thank you for watching us on The Enlightened Passenger. Again, just one last quick reminder to go over to peopleonplanes.com. Grab your free Top 10 Insights Guide. If you'd like, pre-order a copy of the Enlightened Passenger book so you get it before anybody else, and some bonuses that nobody else gets. And of course, we'd love a rating and a review on the show, or subscribe. And we, of course, we won't take it for granted. So thanks again. I appreciate you.